Welcome to J Go Lee. My name is Lee. I'm in Quito, Ecuador. And today in this video, I'm going to share some parting thoughts about the city of Quito, Ecuador. I've been here a month and I figured, it's time to kind of share some thoughts about what I feel about Quito. Now keep in mind, the city is beautiful. It's old, it's modern, it's beautiful, all at the same time. And I had a great time coming here. So I'm glad I did, even though I didn't do a lot of research before I came here, but I'm glad I did. It's a really nice city and the people are extremely nice. So this video is not to be negative or positive, just kind of give you my thoughts on little minor things or things that are minor to me. So the first thing I want to do is start off with the sun. As you can see, the sun, this is kind of what I wake up to, not every morning because you can't see it every morning. I mean, most of the morning you really can't see it, but it's just show how beautiful it is and how powerful. And when it rises over that tree line right there, it's almost like a spotlight. I mean, one morning it almost like knocked me out of bed because I thought it was like a spotlight shining in on me because that's how powerful it is. Which brings me up to my first thought, the sun. You can't underestimate the sun in the city. This sun is really powerful. One of the things I did know about before I came here is that you're supposed to either have sunblock or make sure you keep your head covered because that's how powerful the sun. It's not warm here. It's not hot here. I mean, it's, keep in mind, it's only average about 60-some degrees. You may get up to 70, but pretty much on 65 to 68 degrees on a nice day. Cooler on not so nice days, but definitely between 59 to like 68 on an average day. But the sun is just that powerful. I underestimated how powerful the sun is because one day I was on an open bus tour and I had my camera and I had my phone and the sun was shining. It was a beautiful day. I mean, you can probably check out the bus tour that I did of Quito. But it was a beautiful day. The sun was shining. I was on the top of the bus. It was open air. I wasn't hot, but I did feel the sun. But it wasn't like, oh, the sun is hot, I need to get covered. It's just like I know the sun was there, but I had a hat on. But I had my phone, and I laid my phone down on the seat. And of course, 5 minutes later, I picked up the phone to take pictures. The phone had overheated. My phone has never overheated. I have an iPhone. It has never overheated. Just imagine in that 5 minutes that I had my phone laying down, the sun had heated it up so much that it overheated. That never happened. So it's a beautiful thing, but it's very powerful, and you just can't take it for granted in a city like this. Which brings you up to the next thing, the weather. That's another thing you can't take for granted in the city. That's my next thought, the weather. The weather you can get almost 4 seasons in one day. Now, there's no snow, so you don't have to worry about snow, but you can walk out and be nice and hot or warm, and then it can be cloudy, and then it can be cold, and it can be rainy, all in one day. I mean, when I first arrived here, the host of my Airbnb came downstairs with a coat on. Now, I had just came from the airport. It wasn't really that hot outside, but he said, you just don't know. One thing you don't leave home without is a coat and an umbrella because you're never gonna know what's gonna happen weather-wise. And as you can see from the different images, it can just happen all in one day. So the weather is one of those things you just don't take for granted in the city. The next thought is the altitude. I have to admit, the altitude was rough on me. I mean, especially for the first 2 weeks, really about 2.5 weeks. The altitude was really rough. Now, had I probably done a little more research on altitudes in different parts of the world, I probably would have been better prepared for it, but I didn't. I just know that it's high altitude, and you may have problems. I mean, if you watched a lot of my videos, you notice that I was like, especially when I walk up a hill, I feel like I'm running out of breath. And these hills are not really that big. They're long, but they're not super big. Hills that I've, dealt with a lot of places in the States with no problem. But here, you know, the altitude, along with having to wear a mask, wow, it was rough. I mean, some of the things I was supposed to, I guess, know about. You know, again, if I had done things prior to me arriving, or when I arrived, it probably would have been better. One of the things I was supposed to do is, you know, plan to take it easy when I arrived, which I didn't. You know, no exertion or strenuous activity, which I didn't. Don't try to go on long walks. As you notice, my La Catalina walk around the park, that was like 40, 45 minutes. And I was still walking the same speed that I was walking when I was in Mexico City. And I was walking, but I can see my heartbeat. You know, I have an Apple Watch, and my heartbeat was just beating hard as if I had just ran for miles. Watch my intake of food, which I don't think I was consuming a lot of food, but, you know, maybe I did more than I should have, you know, for, you know, adjusting to the altitude. Stick to a lot of bottled water. Now, I was drinking bottled water because you can't really drink the bottled water here, but I didn't drink enough of it. Maybe because it wasn't convenient. I had to buy it, you know, buy a big old 6-liter water, you know, carrying, you know, from the store to my room. You know, I wasn't trying to take 2 or 3, you know, and so I maybe was conserving it more than I should because, you know, it wasn't as easy as having like a 24 case of water right at your disposal. So it was a little rough. So the altitude is definitely no joke. And I thought I was kind of good to go because I just came from Mexico City. The altitude, you know, sea level altitude was about, you know, 2250. You know, for Quito it's 2850. I guess those 600, you know, meters makes all the world of difference. Again, I thought I didn't have any problems in Mexico City, so I didn't think it would be any major problems here in Quito. No, it was some problem. It took about 2.5, 3 weeks to adjust to it. Even when I was inside of a mall, I felt like I was about to pass out. It was rough. I was still doing everything I wanted to do every day, but it wasn't an easy thing to do. You know what I mean? Just going from one place to the next. It was always like a challenge to just breathe or even catch my breath. So definitely don't take the altitude for granted in this city. Let's switch gears here. One of the things the thoughts I had in Mexico City was just the number of kiosks that make copies. I didn't see a lot of that here, but I did see a lot of kiosks that make keys. And I'm trying to figure out, why are there so many kiosks making keys? I mean, why there's such a demand to get keys made in this city? You know what I mean? They're everywhere. I've seen one, like 4 of them, like 5 minutes from each other, just making keys. I mean, if you from Quito, please explain the need of making keys in the city. I mean, they make all type of keys, but house key, car keys, but keys, you know, getting key made, copies, that's a big thing in the city. Food. Now, when I talk about food, when I say food, that's my next thought. I'm really talking about just restaurants. I mean, food is really inexpensive here. I mean, I think rent can be kind of expensive. At least keep in mind, I'm in the upper class area of Quito. They consider the north the upper class area. So I expected rent and food to be a little more expensive, but you can go to a lot of restaurants and find, you know, I guess menu of the day for like $3.25. I mean, even when you go into the mall, you can find nice meals, you know, for like $3 or $4 at nice malls. I mean, you know, you think about it. If you're in the United States and go to a mall in the United States, you're not going to find meals under, you know, $6, $7. You know what I mean? At the mall, you know what I mean? You're always going to spend $6, $7 more than $6, $7 at the mall and up. Now, don't get me wrong; they do have higher priced food, but you can almost really eat out every day cheaply, you know, with some of the foods here. So again, I share some of the images so you can see what I'm talking about. The next thing, the traffic lights. You know what? Not necessarily the traffic light, the pedestrian crossing. And I don't think it's all over the city, but when I first got here, I was crossing the street and I saw the pedestrian light, and I'm thinking, okay, the pedestrian light, it was a 4-lane road, so there was a light in the middle, so I'm thinking, okay, I see the light in the middle, I go ahead and cross, and I anticipate that the light on the other side is going to change to green for me to walk. No, not in this city. Well, at least not at these two crosswalks that I went to. I mean, it's almost like it allowed you to walk to the center, but it allowed the other cars to go by. Now, granted, if you're from the United States, most crosswalk in the city, if one, if there's 4 lanes and there's a crosswalk, you're gonna get green to cross the whole street, not half of it. So it's something you got to watch for. Again, I don't think it happened all over the city, but it does happen in certain spots. And if you're not careful, you can get hit. I didn't almost get hit, but it was kind of like, oh, wow, this is weird. It's strange. So anyway, the next thought, KFCs. I have never, ever seen so many KFCs in one neighborhood in my whole life, no matter what city I've been to. I've never seen so many KFC. I think they really love KFC in this city. They're everywhere. I see at least 5 or 6 in the neighborhood where I was staying at. There are a lot of KFCs. And what's interesting about these KFCs, they sell ice cream at their KFCs. When have you ever been to a KFC that sold ice cream? I mean, they may have a certain type of dessert that might be cold, and that may be one of those, once in a while type event that is, but I mean, normally you don't get dessert. You may get cookies or maybe some type of fruit or something, not fruit, but some type of dessert, cake or whatever at KFC, but definitely not a whole Dairy Queen type ice cream bar at the KFC. All of them have ice cream bar at the KFC. So KFC's is no joke here. They love KFC in Quito. The next item I want to talk about are pharmacies. Now, the areas I lived at before I moved here were Washington, D.C., and we have CVS. CVS, I think, is probably one of the biggest pharmacies in the U.S. CVS, Walgreens, or whatever. But CVS is expensive. And when you can find pharmacies that cost more than CVS, then that's sad, because the pharmacies here, they're small, but they're very expensive. I mean, I think in one day I went in there looking for shaving cream. I just wanted like a little small canister that you usually can find at Walmart for like $1. They were selling something similar for like, I don't know, $6 for shaving cream. Shaving cream. And I guess people would think, okay, well, maybe because they have to import a lot of things, which is what I thought initially, until I went to the grocery store, the local grocery store. Now, granted, it wasn't $1, but it was like $2 and $2.20 for a nice little, small, no-name brand of shaving cream. A little higher still than what I'm used to, but still not $6, $7. So the pharmacies around here are very cheap. are very expensive. Don't go to them if you don't have to. Try to find a grocery store if you whatever. As far as my next thought, roses, flowers. Think about it. A dozen roses for $1. And this is almost like every day. Roses for $1. You can almost buy your significant other a dozen roses every day of the year. I mean, I'm talking about fresh, beautiful red roses. Look at these flowers. You can buy, I don't know if all these flowers are $1, but the roses are in the images that I have here. So just amazing that you can buy flowers for $1. Fruit stores, and I call them fruit women because they have fruit is pretty cheap here also. You can find a lot of places where you can buy cheap fruit. There are fruit stores that sell fruit. You can buy it for, really a lot of fruit for a little amount of money. And then sometimes you see the little vendors, and most of them are ladies, they're selling like fruit for about $1. If you can see some of the images I have here, you see those little long rows that just have like 6 or 7 apples or 8 or 9 oranges, all for $1 each. You know what I mean? So a lot of time I just try to support the little small vendors because, they're out there from pretty much from sun up to sundown all day selling fruit. So I try to support them as much as possible. But being able to have fresh fruit like that at a cheap price, you definitely can't take that for granted. Dollar. I mean, in this city, they use $1. $1 is official currency, so I didn't have to worry about, making going to the ATM, buying a local currency, whatever you see on the signs and everything, that's the price because it's all in dollars. The only adjustment that I had as far as, the only adjustment I had was the change. I think I went into a grocery store. I'm gonna show you some images of the different coins, and I think the bill came up to like $10.50 or something, and I gave the person a 20, and I didn't have any change, and I'm thinking I'm gonna get a $5 bill and 4 ones and maybe a quarter or a local coin. The coins the coins that we have in the U.S., but they have also a local coin, which is almost the same size as everything. So you may get a mix of both. I end up getting 50-cent pieces, like 4 50-cent pieces, and then I got like 5 $1 pieces and 2 quarters. Think about it. All that heavy change that you got in your pocket, that would have been nice if you just got like $8 or $9 and a quarter. So most time you're not going to get a lot of dollars back. You're going to get coins back if you give them a big bill. So that's something you got to get used to. Walking around with a pocket full of just heavy change is not really comfortable, when you're used to getting bills. So that's the only thought that I really had that was just kind of like, okay, what's up with this, And one of the things that I shared in my thoughts of Mexico City was the how clean the city was, and how I always saw people, taking out trash or trash trucks or people sweeping the streets. I don't see that here, but yet the streets are very clean, and I'm talking about in all areas. The streets are really, really clean. But I don't see trash truck and I don't see people sweeping the street. It's almost like they do everything at night. That way you don't see them. And you wake up to nice, clean streets. That's a good thing. So anyway, again, those are my thoughts of Mexico City. Again, those are my thoughts of Quito, Ecuador. It's a beautiful city. If you've never been here, you should check it out. It's one of those places like, wow, I didn't know this was here, That was my first thought when I got here. Like, oh, okay, this is a big, massive city. This is a really nice city. So if you ever get a chance, check it out. Again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next city.